Hey guys and girls, Super X here. Wanted to kind of go over with you a problem that I found with this particular mod today and how I've diagnosed it. Today I had the pleasure of talking to the old Jedi Squonk Master, Rob. I actually talked to him a couple days ago too, but any day you talk to Rob's a good day. Rob at Rio's Mods. And he gave me some advice. I was noticing some juice behind my Delrin block. And my concern on this mod was, have I maybe damaged the insulation, not the gasket, but the insulation that people have to send their mods in for. And he assured me that if there's a problem with your insulation, you're going to get a short. That's all it's there for. It has nothing to do with leaking. So when I say Delrin block, that's this thing that's normally in there. So this video is going to pretty much show you how you might diagnose a leak. You can see there's still juice on that. This is, you can get a very slow leaking one that I just happened today. I just said, let me just check. So I rebuilt this mod a few weeks ago, and because I saw juice back there, and today sure enough I saw juice again. That was after rebuilding it correctly. Remember my last rebuild video that I did, which I'll take down when I finish with this one, I didn't do it correctly. Now I know how to do it correctly, but I believe that my problem is I didn't tighten down this pin tight enough, or I tightened it too tight. So the way Rob showed me how to diagnose that, once you take it apart, is to get you a bottle with some water in it, a juice bottle, right? Where's your leak coming from? Plug it into the mod. See, I don't stand for it. That leak probably could have been back there for a long time, but what happens in my particular case is it also runs down the firing pin, gets on the button, and ultimately it's probably going to travel between your firing pin and battery. So ultimately you're going to lose probably conductivity. It's always a good idea to find a leak in a mod. So what I've got is a bottle of plain water. This is Rob telling me what to do. I would have never thought of this. Notice I've taken the atomizer off it. This is an LP'd model. That's all I have anymore. So I'm going to put my finger over the top of this to hold it tight. You'll notice that when you squonk, what I'm going to do is squonk. You notice quite a bit of pressure on your thumb. This thing puts some pressure out. So right now you're not going to be able to see this, but under very bright light and with squonking long enough and probably I've actually tightened down that pin quite a bit more. There is no water gushing out, but I was able to trace a little bit of water right where the top of the firing pin meets the mod. And again, I'm putting a lot more pressure on this than you normally get squonking. Probably had I done this before I tightened down that pin, water would have been visible, more visible than it is now. So right now I know that, I see that it's coming right in, like, in other words, I don't have this thing right here, the nipple, tight enough. So what that is gonna, whether I do or don't at this point, I'm rebuilding this bad boy. And you guys are gonna get to watch. But there's how you can tell where water in your bottle, your finger over the top, a lot of pressure. Like I said, you'll feel a lot of pressure. There's how we'll be able to diagnose if it's coming out of your hose, where the leak is coming from. It's coming from your bottle top, but no, I see it's coming from up there. So we're gonna do, hold on a minute, I got this here. Now, one of the things I did was I said, I wonder if this happens to all Rios, and you just never really notice it unless you take it apart. And maybe that's the only reason I noticed it. So I took this SL that's a couple of months old apart. There isn't a drop of juice up there. Nothing. It's clean as a whistle. So I said to myself, has to be a problem with my build. So this one right here, you're still screaming like the scolded dog it's always been. This one was screaming like a scolded dog. It was just wetting itself. We're not gonna tolerate that stuff. So we're gonna go ahead and fix that right up, and you're gonna witness it. Ready for a little rebuild on Rio done correctly? All right, let me change some camera view, and I'll be right back at you. Alrighty then. So we're gonna move in on a little rebuild action here. What you will need to do a rebuild is a screwdriver with a Phillips, just either a Phillips and a flat. A Delrin block's already off. This is a little Phillips screw right here that you'll need a Phillips bit for. You need a nice thick but not too wide bit on your driver for going down in the 510. So we got that and we got that, right? Needle nose pliers to tighten the nipple. Delrin blocks over there. Now, I thought it'd be a good time to show you kind of the deal here. This is an RM2 low profile that I have. This is Music Head done sent me this. Read ReadyWick, don't use it yet. Got a nice little collection of spare screws and O-rings for the Odin, courtesy of old SoCal Craig. He just shot me them. What a cool dude. Another one. We got a Delrin block here, a spare Delrin block. It had a little super glue on it, so I ordered a new one when I did a rebuild because I didn't feel like just compromising it, but it's here in case of like an absolute emergency. I also have another Delrin block coming in the mail. We got some gold springs in here. We're not screwing around. We're not going to ever put ourselves in a position where we have a short. And I've got a boatload of, I'll show you in a minute, and then a little selection of O-rings. This is like kind of my go-to kit, and here's what we're going to need. One of these right here. I've got a few extras of firing pins and nipples and the gasket wafer setup, and here's where we're going to do that video different. These are just, I don't use these drip tips, I just put them in there. There's also a spare high heat fire button down in here in this little kit. So this is basically my go-to kit for anything that I need, that I might need kind of on a, maybe on a, you just never know sort of basis. I got a bunch of other stuff stashed away, and really I don't need any of this stuff, but it's just kind of cool to have it right there in that little deal. This is all I'm going to be using today, because you can see this mod already has the gold spring, has the good firing pin on it. The other thing I forgot to show you that we're going to need to rebuild this Rio, aside from some wet paper towels around and stuff, is you're going to need a little super glue, and you're going to need an applicator, which I've got me this little 17 gauge needle that I'll use to put a little super glue on and dip it down in there. Then this kind of goes back a little ways further into the day. This was my other collection of springs and stuff, and I had extra springs and older buttons and older kit there. Then, you know, you got a set of bottles, which I don't know why I have so many, but I do. And then another set of caps. You know, I just like to have stuff, because this kid is not going to get caught with his pants down one day. I'm gonna be rocking regardless. There's nobody could stop me from vaping. Nobody except me, myself. I could stop myself from vaping, but I'm not going to. I have no desire to now or anytime in the near future. And whenever, again guys, whenever you're gonna rebuild or do anything, always have a mod on hand. Don't tear all your stuff down at once. I've done that one time, try to rebuild every atomizer at once, and that was the one time like life went crazy on me at the moment. Always have something to vape on hand, always. Oh, let's go into this too on here. I'm going to probably cover this in more detail at a later time. The new AW, what are they called now? 2200 MAHs. These things are beasts. I get an entire day. I mean from the time I get up at 6:30 in the morning to the time I go to bed. Usually it's 12, midnight. Sometimes it's before. It depends on if I'm working. So if I'm up that late, I'm usually vaping quite a bit. The lowest I've drained it was like 3.78, and that was last night. I'm about 120 at night, vaping on a 0.5 ohm coil, dual coil setup. The net was 0.5. And that put me through about 4 to 4.5 milliliters worth of juice. So this is the all day. I've got a boatload or enough of these other 1600s that I'll probably, I don't know what I'm ever going to do with them, because I don't see myself using them in the future. There's really no need to have them. There's one in my car in a little battery case, just in case of an emergency, but I don't know what I'm going to do with those. But anyway, let's get about rebuilding this mod. Once I tear it down and get out the parts, I'm just going to go rinse it out. So the first thing we're going to do is, I've already got the hose off. I'm just going to snap this little nipple off in here, okay? It's up in there. We're not going to try and undo that. We do what Rob does. That's how Rob does it. It's good enough for me, because there's no need for me to try and salvage that. Heck, that could be the problem. Then we're going to take the firing pin out, okay? That firing pin is in perfectly good shape. I'm just going to clean it a little bit here, just to, and who knows, maybe the water I'm seeing, just really, no one really knows. And I tell you what I'm going to do. Since this firing pin has a little super glue on it, it is definitely not unusable. But since we're going in for the whole rebuild deal here, let's just pull out a new firing pin. It doesn't, well, this one has some I guess all my firing pins have super glue on them. I don't want to really get too crazy about getting that off there, because remember, that's an insulated part. So it's something we're going to have to live with. We're going to have to deal with it. There's none on the part that's going to contact anything that's going to insulate anything. So we're good. That firing pin's good. I'm sure this one's good too. I'm just, like I said, you know how I am by now. I'm kind of a little bit of a freak. I've rotated my firing button to the lock position. Now what we're going to do is we're going to remove this, the inside of this assembly. I'm just pushing it with my finger. We'll get it to about that point. Maybe grab what here? This screwdriver. And all we're going to do is gently push that out. There it goes on the floor. Wife vacuumed yesterday, so I can't leave her anything today. Oh, look what I found, a reducer tube on the floor. Can't leave her anything because she might not see it. So this is the center post 510 gone. See you, bye. Now we got two gaskets to get out. We got the Teflon wafer that's in there, and we have got the silicone gasket. How I've been successful getting these out is just taking this exact very same screwdriver and just gently pushing it out. We're not going to damage that silicone and send this stuff into raw. That ain't going to happen. At least not if I can help it. We're just gently going to push that out till we get it to the point where it's out. Sometimes that could take a... Hopefully I'm doing this right. But you can see it's coming out. There we go. Boom, it's gone. Everything down in there looks intact. Yes, it's got the gobbledygook in there, so we are pretty well good to go. I'm just going to give this a little look under the light that I've got it there, and look down in there, and it looks pretty copacetic. There's quite a bit of that. There's, you know, the stuff that's in there. So what came out was the silicone gasket, the little guy here, and the Teflon wafer, which I just had him. He disappeared. There he is, and everything looks pretty good there. So my guess is it had nothing to do with this. I probably just didn't tighten down that pin on the nipple enough. So needless to say, sorry I ripped you guys out. Actually, that looks like it's in really good shape. So let me go real quick. I'm just going to rinse this mod that it's all apart, rinse my Delrin block, and I'll be right back, and we'll put this bad boy right back together. Okay, so we rinsed the mod out. Now I'm just going to dry it off. This is a perfect time just to, if you ever have to rebuild, and always just make sure you clean your mod at that point if it's not already clean. I suspect that most of you people's mods is clean, but I'm just going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to suspect that a lot of you guys' mods probably aren't too clean either. Could stand a cleanup. But keeping them clean helps you diagnose. Now, silver hammer tone is a tougher finish to diagnose a problem in. I have got the exact same problem in this silver hammer tone in this mod right here. As you can see, the Delrin top is now. I've got the exact same problem. You're going to probably see some shiny stuff in there, but I got more rebuild parts coming from Rob. This one will probably be easier to diagnose the problem in because it's the finish isn't as shiny. But if you can look in there, you'll see there's juice back behind there where it doesn't belong. In this mod, you can see it right. Hopefully, I don't know with the light. Who knows? It doesn't belong there. That juice it doesn't belong there, and I'm not going to vape it like that because it's getting trashy. I got to take my virtual ashtray out though. I don't want it to get tarnished in this. That's a memento. So anywho, there's that. Got the screw in there. I just kept this door on there for now because I got another black wrinkle SL door coming for this bad boy. But we'll get to that when the parts come. They say they're going to be there tomorrow. Who knows? They might show up today. So we got this mod wiped down. Everything about it is pretty much copacetic now and ready for new parts, right? We've got everything in front of us that we're going to need. Our Delrin block wiped out. Plenty of paper towels around. Now, first thing we're going to do is you're going to take this center post, right? And we're going to remove these gaskets from it. Remember in my other video, I thought, hey, I bet Rob put those on there. So you just slide that whole thing right up under there. What an ingenious idea. He is so smart, that man. And even after watching his video, I thought maybe he just knew and improved. I don't know. But anyway, I did it that way. It sucked. Didn't work. It worked. My Rios vape fine, but I had juice behind my Delrin block. And remember, me and juice behind there doesn't work. So it proves that you could even get it behind there if you do it the right way. It's probably just from not tightening down on this little nipple. Now normally this nipple's not on here, so that's what's holding me up. I got to take that off. That goes in the end of the hose, right? Right. Okay, so here goes that. You want to be careful not to damage and deform your little Teflon wafer when you're taking this little gasket off here. Okay, still getting it off there, nothing earth shattering here, and there's the Teflon. So you got this little thing in your hand, right? What you're going to want to do is wet it. Now I'm not the saliva person. I don't usually use saliva to do a bunch of stuff, but it works like a charm in this case. I don't use juice because, like I said, I'm kind of opposed to juice anywhere but where it needs to be in my mouth. But just kind of wet my fingers and wet that thing a little bit. Okay. Now I'll never do that to a wick. That is just nasty. But this little thing. So here's where we'll just get this guy in place. He's not the easiest dude to put in at times. He can give you some struggles, but just take your patient time, and with that saliva or with any kind of liquid, people, like I said, suggest e-juice. He'll eventually go in, and until he goes in and he's down in there flushed, you don't want to like stick an Addy on there or any of that stuff like I've done in the past to try and do this. And it is just about in. You can stick an Addy on there to do other stuff. When you got this, I think Mudflap is the first dude that told me about that when he watched me struggling with this thing. And you know why it was bouncing in and out? Same reason it is sort of now, because I didn't put it in right. So what I'm realizing is I got to wet it a little bit more. It wasn't quite wet enough, so I'm just going right to the old Boca with it, and then we're going to stick it in there. Ready, boy? Here we go. Still using the center pin itself to try and get it in there. It'll go. It just takes time. I probably should, maybe I'll fast forward past this part for you guys when I make the movie. So at that point I'm going to shut up and I'll just fast forward through this. Well, I won't have to because I just got it. Boom. It's in. It is in. Okay, so that guy is in there. He's seated down in there good. Now I've got the center pin in my hand still, right? What do I want to do next? I want to get this little Teflon wafer and I want to put it on the center pin. Okay? Now these mods fall over. You hear that thing? That's going to break my table. Try that with your V-mod, baby. That thing probably would have cracked. Alrighty. Or it would have sounded something more like here. Let's see. This is a V-mod falling over. Here's a Rio falling over with nothing in it. What do you want to have with you? What's in your wallet? Alright, anyhow, now we got that little wafer on there. We're just going to slide this pin in. And that wafer will just fall into place. So this pin goes in. Yes, it's a nice and snug connection. There goes the V-mod falling down again. Here's a Rio loaded with an Addy falling down again. And a battery. Let me hit this bad boy while I got it in hand. Alright, so I got that center pin. Now I'll use my old one to push it down in there. You can use your screwdriver at this point too. But I just like to not try and dig around in there with anything sharper or wider than it until it's absolutely necessary. So there, it's in there. The 510's in, the wafer's in. You'll know you got a good fit. This is another thing I learned. If that silicone wafer isn't sitting like nice and uniform, like if you ever get a brand new Rio and look down there, which I started to do now. I didn't used to look because I didn't care. But if you look at Rob's brand new Rios, that's like perfect. I mean, it's perfect. And that's how mine looks right now. It looks perfect because now we know how to do it. We're not just a little tool on a mission to try and hurry up and get stuff done. We're doing it right. So now that's in there. Here is where if you were kind of compelled to go, oh, I don't want that thing to move while I'm sticking my nipple on. I got Grandma, my mom's Cyclone here. That's her, she's using an RM2 now because old Grandpa went over to Cartomizers. They wanted me to sell this Cyclone. I suggested selling it. And then I thought, hold on, Mom, why don't you just hold on to that thing? Because you might need a backup, so I'll build it for you. Well, that was about 3 weeks ago. It's still sitting here. It hasn't been built. But that makes good to hold that thing while we go through putting this hose and nipple on. So we're not using the old nipple. Oh, this isn't the old nipple. This is the new nipple, I think, right? Yeah, the old nipple is... Oh, no, that's the old nipple. Here's the new nipple right here. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to get our hose, the one that I have over here with this water in it. I'll pull it out. We're going to get our firing pin ready, but the first thing I'm going to do is just stick this little nipple inside of the hose, man. Just the tip of it, so I can get it on there. And then we'll screw it on, pull it off, and then we'll get crazy with the super glue action. So first now, what do we got to do? We've got to put the firing pin on. So it's going on right about now. Keeping your button locked through this procedure helps out considerably too. Remember what side of the firing pin wants to go down, the knurled side. See, goofball here, just put it on backwards, just about. The knurled side that wants to face down, the part that contacts your battery. And you guys will find out as you do this stuff that it's not hard at all. Just for me, everything's hard. It's one of the things my wife likes about me. But it has its disadvantages too. Okay. So there we go. That's on there. Now we're going to take this hose with the nipple on it, right? And we're going to screw it. We're going to thread it on there and tighten this down pretty much so it doesn't want to go anymore at this point. Get nice, and then it just fall off. At this point we're going to need to take off the addy you were using just to keep that thing from popping up on you. Grandma's Cyclone, used to be my Cyclone. I can't do little addies anymore. This thing has freaking ruined me. God, has it ever ruined me. I mean, I haven't squonked it, and it just goes on and on. Ruined, I tell you. Absolutely destroyed anything else I've ever even come close to trying. There's probably other addies out there that do that too, but it's kind of like I've got my wife. She's hot and awesome. I don't need to check out any other wives. I don't need to check on any other addies. I'm copacetic. The other thing I'm looking at is the top of my tube here. This tube has been, you know, I've probably repaired with it a couple of times because I seem to have run out of tubes. I'm just going to give it a nice flush slice. I'm probably slicing it isn't the best way to do it. That's probably half of my problem right there. You probably should have some kind of tool. I don't like to use these old tubes, but until my other ones get here, I'm kind of stuck, man. Duck Dynasty style. So we're going to put this back on here at this point. The tube is going to go on the nipple. We're going to put it on a little bit. Not all the way. We're going to put it to about there. See that? Oh, wait. Whoa, 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 whoa. We got to tighten down on that nipple. Rob told me a good way to know you're tighten. I've said over tighten it's not good and under tighten it's not good. So here we got a nice flat blade bit that fits the 510. It's not sticking out and gouging anything. He said, dude, if it's too tight, you'll probably snap that thing. And if it's too loose, that's not good either. It's got to be just right. How do I know when it's just right, Rob? We said you'll kind of get the feel for it. He said if your firing pin turns really easy when you turn the 510 connector, it's probably... So all I'm doing is getting my needle nose and I'm turning this little nipple here. I'm going to turn the nipple. I'm holding that screw tight. And I'll probably go about a quarter of a turn more and I'm going to give it a check. Better to check than to just like go nuts. Now, what Rob said is something along the lines of if you turn your 510 and the firing pin moves too easy, then it's probably not tight enough. So let's see if I've... All I'm doing is this, and I'm trying to look at it here. I'm going to do it like this for my own eyes first to witness the deal, and then I can testify once I've witnessed. Yeah, I think it could stand to be just a little bit tighter. Okay? And I found that, remember you got to get that special Rob grip on there. It's like the Robo grip, bro. There you go. I'm going to say that that's probably adequate. It's just a wild guess, of course, but I'm thinking that it is. yeah, because now my firing pin is up there contacting the top of that. It's yeah, that's, I could just feel it. I could see the snugness. Everything looks good and snug there. So now we're at the point where we can put the hose on it again. Now, guys, remember the inverted V? That's an inverted V right there, cutting the bottom of the hose. That's not the end you put on your nipple. That is the end you put down in your bottle. So we're going to stick this hose on here. Partially. Then we're going to get out the pseudo V-mod, the sound of a V-mod hitting the table. Super glue, plastic super glue. You don't have to shake that up. What the hell am I doing? Anyway, I don't dab it right into the mod because you're going to probably miss. So what I've done is I get this little 17 gauge needle and I put glue on it, so I never would use that needle. I've got so many of these things, it's not even funny, so I'm not worried. But I just want to make sure it didn't get confused with my ones I use for coiling. And I put some super glue onto this. And then I take this and I put it where it drips right down there in between the hose and that little connection there, right? Then I take my hose and I spin it a little bit as I'm putting it on, and that right there, my friends, is pretty much it. Now you're going to want to quickly get your firing pin too and make sure that it's, you know, where it needs to be. And that's one of the downsides of having the button on lock. There we go. So we have just done the most complex part of rebuilding the Rio Grande. The Rio Grande rebuild has just been done. Now, got my old bottle, still full of juice here. Can't put that on yet though, because we got to put the Delrin block on, remember? So we're going to put the Delrin block nice and clean, juice free. I'm loving it. Back on here. And I'll be keeping an eye on this to see if there's any juice gets behind there, but I think I've figured out what it is now. I think I just didn't have that tightened down enough. And then I think some stuff was kind of, what's the word I'm going to look for here, in that little plastic thing of the firing pins on it. And I was putting a lot of force on it. I bet you this did not need to be rebuilt, but I've been wanting to do a new rebuild to kind of pave over my old stupid rebuild video anywho. And now we're just going to put this in. So all I do with this thing is hold that Delrin block. Guys, yes, I have a man's screwdriver here, or a woman's, but you want to use woman hands when you're tightening down this screw, okay? You just want to make it just tight. I bet you Rob gets, I wonder how many Rios Rob gets sent back just because people over tighten this screw. And I think at that point, whoa, hold on a minute here, something is definitely wrong. Yes, I pushed my firing pin back. You want to be able to see your firing pin when you look up in there. There you go. I'll show you the visual here in a second. Alright, there. See, you see the firing pin? It's visible. If it's not visible, you're screwed. You just have to take this off and do it again. You're just going to tighten this little screw down. What I've always found works is to hold this Delrin and sort of push up on it. And then it finds the hole like it was dipped in flour. Okay. And there it is. That's it. No more. Yes, I can tighten it down. I can go crazy with it. Guess what? Then my Rio mod, my Rio Grande Silver Hammer Tone would be heading to Rob, and it would probably, I don't think it will ever be the same. It's probably going to be something different, because that hole is that hole and that screw is that screw. So I'm not sending mine to Rob for that. I've never had to send a Rio to Rob yet to get repaired, and I have no intention of doing so. I want to buy new Rios from Rob. Let that man make mods, not repair mods. Anyhow, there's that. Unlock the fire button just to make sure that your copacetic, everything's working in there. Firing pin is just doing exactly what Rob wanted it to do, and what it's going to do, it's going to get busy heating up here in a little while. So now what we got to do is put this bottle on. I'm going to take the cap off. Funny, I just filled this morning and was vaping it a little bit when I noticed the issue. So remember, I got my sickly cut tip of that thing, so it never gets suction to anything. I'm just going to slide it through. Bottle cap's going up. I'll try and push it up as much as possible because I don't like pulling on the hose. All that means is I will wind up maybe pulling my hose off of my the hose deal, the nipple. He said, nipple, dude. Anyway, I should have put that as one of my favorite TV shows on GIF's thread. Because it used to be funny back in the day. I was thinking South Park, but I never get to watch that stuff anymore. When you have kids, all that stuff that you used to watch, you don't watch anymore. Here's that. Bottle's on. Bottle goes in. And I think at this point in time, we are in business. Let's give it a little squonkerino. Yep. Juice is coming up. Again, amazed. I am amazed at the amount of pressure when you put your finger over that hole and squeeze that water that you put on with the squonk. It'll like blow your thumb off there. You better be ready. So there's that. Let's do this thing. I mean, I got an AW. I'm gonna just take it out of this mod because I wasn't intending to use this mod today. This was like my tomorrow mod. I was using that one today. Let's take this battery out, which I've been vaping it all morning since about 6:15 I got up, I think, today, and started a little vaping. I vape hardcore while I'm working. I'm always hitting it. Let's see where we're at with it. 3.92, and it started at 4.19. These things charge at 4.19. That's kind of different. I'm used to seeing 4.20, but anywho, 4.92, halfway through the day. Hardcore vaping. This is going in here. This Odin. This is another thing I'm going to try, guys. I'm going to try, these mods were custom milled exactly for these Odins by my man Turbo brother. He did them exactly for these Odins, okay? So, that said, I don't need an O-ring. I find that this atomizer is much more wobbly on here when I put an O-ring in it. I also noticed Rob's LP is the same thing. I don't believe there's an O-ring in this mod. I think I run about, and when I put an O-ring on there, the atomizer wobbles a whole bunch. So there we go. That's it, right? AW 2200 MAH 18650. This is what I've been doing now. This door serves two purposes. It looks very cool in my opinion on there on a silver hammer tone. That's why I got a black wrinkle one coming from my black wrinkle. So when since I only use one mod a day, this one sits over here kind of naked, and this one's out there enjoying the limelight. I use one mod a day. Oh, hell yeah. We're good. We are good. We've rebuilt a Rio, and what, about an hour did we take? We've rebuilt it. Stuff. I know my lighting is now, it's not, see if I can get it back to the former state of glory that I had it in for when it was just me here. Get out of here. Yeah, so we got it rebuilt. How cool does that look? Silver hammer tone. Now I like the texture. That's what I like, feeling that on my hand, this SL. Once you get used to the feeling, especially on the TRA, it's kind of almost like serrated. You almost might feel like you're going to cut yourself. You won't. Rob tumbles them, but it's just like, it's awesome. Oh, Almadean. Somebody, I think it was Almadean, or somebody said that I don't look at the camera enough. My brother. This is looking like right into the camera right now, but I have to look over here at the screen. So I'm one of those dudes, my wife says that I look people in the eye too much, like I almost kind of like intimidate them. I don't find myself intimidating at all, but she says people probably think you're weird because you just look in their eyes. But if I look at the difference, looking here or looking at the lens. If I look at the lens, I can't see what's going on screen, because what I'm doing, I'm looking at the screen to see what I'm doing 9 times out of 10. So let me look back at the lens for you. I'm gonna look at the lens and take a big old pull just for you. I think it was Almadean, baby. Nothing but net. Nothing but net. It's game on. I'm a baller when it comes to these things. There's that video. Oh, I wanted to kind of a look ahead. What I've got coming up, a dude named Sigatron sent me these things. And I did wrap a coil on it. I think it's really cool. It's very easy. You just put the screw in, put the wire, and you twist it. My only gripe about it is, one, I'm not a big wood person. I like it. Actually, this is the one I use. I put the screw in 1/16 inch. I like it that it's wood. I mean, I like it, but wood just isn't going to hold up for my use. That screw ultimately will go. Not to mention, I got kind of larger hands, man. The other thing, the biggest concern, but this thing works killer. You just take your wire, you pull it back, it makes a good coil. I like it. Sigatron, the Sigatron coil winder, I dubbed it the Sigma Jig. I'm gonna try and do a little shoot on this coming up, maybe next week. I gotta kind of pay my bills though. The other thing I don't like about it is this distance right here, from here to here, ain't cutting it for me. I want my leg to be nice and long before I do it, before it bends. So I know that you can put your hand here, I can set it and straighten it, but I like my legs perfectly straight. I've got something in the works. I'm getting it made right now. Hopefully you guys are like, whoa, that's killer, because it's getting made. It's probably gonna be a few weeks, but it's everything that I think it will be. It'll probably be nothing that you're expecting, but got this coming up to talk about. I'll have you show you, it's gonna show you inside my vape drawers, how everything goes down. And I was going to take you on a tour of my battery factory over here, a couple other things, and I also have some new toys from Rob, like that new grand door, more parts for the rebuild kit. Just trying to keep it going on and keep some current videos rolling at you guys to show you how easy it is to vape with Rios. That's why they're all I vape. It can get boring, you can shoot one and never shoot again, but we make little improvements and little evolvements just about every day up in here. We figure out something that makes it a little easier. Like I just found out with this screwdriver, I used to have to reach into this thing and grab all the bits out. No, what a dumbass, Russ. The top of this thing just comes off, and now the one that fits my 510 connector, just slide it in there. Those are the only two bits I need in my life, because my Odins run on Phillips head screws. That same driver that does my Odin does takes that Delrin block off. So really I'm run on 2 bits. I'm a 2-bit type of individual here. Yeah. So that was it. Happy Friday to you guys. Thanks for sitting with me through that. Got some more Gad Boy stuff coming up. I just haven't really done any other. And I went on a field trip with my kids the other day. Didn't ride the school bus though. They wanted me to. I met them at the movies. Sat through a movie with a bunch of 2nd graders. Read to the class. Actually, we saw that Alexander's Great, Terrible, Horrible, Rotten, No Good, Very Bad Day. Funny movie. So I got to read that short book to the class before we went, and that was cool. Anyway, guys, peace out. Have a great weekend. See ya.